Hello everybody and welcome to another Premodern video. What we're going to be trying out today is a new take on blue-white control, the de facto best, quote-unquote, blue-white control deck in the format in Premodern is UW Landstill. And that deck has been taking some pretty big hits lately. It's been rough for that deck in the past year, and it's not slowing down with the new red-green deck, which I think has a pretty good matchup against the standstill deck. So the main problem is that the entire card advantage engine of the Landstill deck is built around the card Standstill. So with Standstill being the main way that you get your cards in the blue-white control deck, you run into the problem that if your opponent functions better than you do under a Standstill, you're not going to have a good time. So that is the problem that the red-green deck presents. The fact that it can play very well under a Standstill and in fact can just be better and very often force the standstill player itself to crack their own standstill, which is obviously an absolute disaster for the standstill player. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to circumvent that, and instead we're bringing in the card advantage engine that the red-green deck really struggles against, which is this bad boy, Eternal Dragon. Eternal Dragon is a fantastic card which I enjoy very, very much, and I already am playing in the black-white version of this deck, which is the black-white control deck. The concept is very similar in that this deck has a really, really stable mana base. We have a Darker Waste and a Singleton Coastal Tower to make my blue requirements work somewhat reliably, and some Flooded Strands, fetch lands, and a bunch of basic lands, alongside 3 copies of Dust Bowl with the 4th one in the sideboard. What this does is it means that cards like Wastelands are pretty much a non-issue for the most part. Obviously, Rishadan Port is still great because it's still port, but it is very, very strong, very solid mana base, which can allow us to play a reliable game plan. We also have Eternal Dragon as the card advantage engine alongside Factor Fiction, of course, and this way what we get to do is we get to circumvent the issues that the standstill deck has in the current format. Of course, this is going to come coupled with their decks that standstill is actually pretty good against. So against those decks, maybe things will get a little bit shaky, but you still have the same engine that the same spells that the deck has, the same spells that the Landstill deck has access to in Impulse to smooth out draws, Mana Leak, and Prohibit as counter spells. Notably, I'm only playing 2 copies of Counterspell because I don't have that many blue sources to have Counterspell reliably on turn 2. So I wanted to make sure that my counterspells had only a single blue pip, and then Factor Fiction and Flash of Insight as my counterspell, as my card advantage, spells. We also have Removal in Swords to Plowshares and Wrath of God, and then Phyrexian Furnace, which has been a fantastic card in all of my control decks, so we're going to be playing a couple of copies of those in the main deck. Finally, the win conditions are Decree of Justice and Eternal Dragon. Obviously, Dragon being both the enabler and the payoff is pretty fantastic. And finally, Decree of Justice, which if we're going to be hitting every single land drop thanks to Eternal Dragon, Decree of Justice is a great way to make use of all the mana that we have access to. Once we move to the sideboard, we have access to an interesting card that I think is just kind of busted against red-green. Like, if you put a Blinding Angel into play, you cannot lose. Like, it's literally impossible for you to lose against red-green. Unless your opponent kills you immediately on the crackback, you just cannot lose because they can only win through combat, and they have no blockers for the Blinding Angel, and yeah, this is gonna work out pretty well for you. Secondly, I meant to say Seal of Cleansing as an extra answer to artifacts and enchantments with Disenchant. We also have a couple of Annuls which do a similar job. Then Circle of Protection Red and Blue Elemental Blast, Hydroblast are the cards that we have against the red decks, which are very popular, very powerful, and a pretty big Achilles heel of this strategy in particular. Then we have Arcane Lab. This card has been secretly fantastic in my experience playing Standstill. It's really, really good against the red decks and also fantastic against a bunch of the combo decks in the format, meaning that they're not able to protect their combo, or you can just use Arcane Lab as a way to make sure that your counter magic is always going to resolve and stuff like that. It's very, very strong. I like this card a lot as a one-off. As I said earlier, we have Dust Bowl and then 4 copies of Meddling Mage. Meddling Mage is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful cyber cards that Standstill can have access to because it attacks from an angle that is extremely different than the main angle that Standstill is stacking from. So this card is spectacular against combo decks mostly, and then it has some other uses against maybe like elves, which is not necessarily combo all in or whatever, but it still does a lot of work at stopping survival of the fittest and cards like that. So this is the deck we're going to be trying out. I have played a grand total of 0 matches with this deck, so you're going to see the very first games that I get to play with it. So we will learn about it, we will see what works, we will see what doesn't, and then we'll see where it goes. Round number 1 with Dragon Control. This one doesn't get there. This mulligan, this one's not great either, but I don't think I can really go to 5, so I'm gonna have to take it easy. We're gonna have to really bank on this Swords to Plowshares being good. Careful study. Oh, some madness. Don't mind if I do. Let's see what Pietro is gonna be cooking with today. Forest, Yavimaya Coast. It's not super hot, gotta say. Basic Forest, Survival. Yeah, we're just gonna main phase, blow it up. That worked out pretty well. Hopefully he doesn't have a second one. Alright, cool. So now we're looking kind of okay. I do have to be mindful of days, but him with double Basic Forest and Yavimaya Coast could mana leak this, but I think I'm fine. 2 Root Wallas. Yeah, I don't think I care about that too much. You can just plow them in response to... Oh, one of them is an Argon Worm, never mind. So I guess I'm gonna leak the worm, just so that I use my mana efficiently. This is bad if he found another survival, but maybe I'm supposed to just Swords to Plowshares there and move on. If he pumps, I think I plow, but if he doesn't, I don't. Decree. Okay, it's not great, not terrible. He just doesn't use his mana at all. Interesting. Swings for 1, I'll take it. If he doesn't do anything, I'm just gonna cycle this Decree for 1. I'm not gonna run this Factor Fiction into something, you know, very likely to be blown out, like Mana Leak or something. Last Breath. Interesting. But, I mean, he's doing nothing, so as long as he continues doing nothing, I'm okay with this. Careful Study is fine. Discarding Forest and Wander. Oh no. Rootwalla flies now. I think I'm gonna Last Breath the Rootwalla. My opponent can pump, but like Last Breath is only gonna get this anyway. So if they want to Mana Leak this, or if they use the mana to pump, that effectively means that they can't Mana Leak. So that's fine with me. And now I think I plow the Rootwalla, and then I untap and I just off main phase. So we untap, just gonna cast main phase Factor Fiction here. Some nice ones in there. Gonna choose pile number 2. Eternal Dragon goes to the bin. We can potentially start cycling Dragon next turn. So I think I'm just going to bring back Dragon in my upkeep. Actually, let's keep the Adarkar Wastes up. Phyrexian Furnace. That's a nice one. I'm not going to just throw that into my opponent's very apparent mana leak. So I'm just gonna take it a little bit slow here. Survival. Yeah, but we have Furnace, so we can hopefully make their survival a little bit worse off. Let's start by cycling. Get my planes, play a Furnace. We still have this Wrath of God my opponent knows about. Circular Logic. Yeah, this seems worth leaking. This Furnace seems annoying enough for my opponent. Peaches Squee into another Squee into a Mongrel. Okay, just gonna plow that, I think. And I'm doing that now because I don't want my opponent to be able to efficiently use it to discard Root Wallas. Not getting back Eternal Dragon there because I'm planning to cast this off. Second Furnace is a big deal here. Yep, definitely choosing pile 1. Play a land, play a second Furnace. Furnace have a lot of work to do. And it's getting there for 1. We also have Flash of Insight Flashback for 4 as is, which is not bad. They want to get one of these Squeeze. I think I actually do. So let's take one of these Squeeze and then untap. Opponent just sends it back. Psycho Dragon. Opponent can get an Arrogant Worm into play here if they want. I don't think I care too much about that. Okay. Another Dragon. Just going to send the turn back. Activate Furnace for good measure. There's a Worm. I'm at 16, so I'm not super worried about this, honestly. There comes the Worm. I'm gonna fall right now. Well, I think I literally have no more planes. Yeah, those are all my planes. So I can't cycle this Dragon anymore. I can just fetch my islands, so I think I'll just choose pile 2. I guess I can actually get only one of these islands, so never mind. Opponent sets up another Worm, and they're gonna get something else, another Squee. And I really have to find that disenchant. I'm gonna take 4. Here on end step, I'm just gonna flash back this Flash of Insight. We're gonna get to look at 5 cards. Swords to Plowshares, another Wrath, or Decree. Probably have to take... I guess that whatever I get goes to the bottom, but then I just get it back. So I think I'm gonna take the second Wrath, I guess. And yeah, it doesn't matter which order, because I'm gonna be shuffling. Untap. Having a Swords is kind of nice. And I think we just play a Dragon. 5/5 is bigger than a 4/4. Ship the turn back. That's another worm. Let's see what he gets. Rudwalla. Gets another Rudwalla. And also puts the Rudwalla into play. It's a lot of dudes. That is a heck of a lot of dudes. So I can exile the Wonder, so I can block one of these Rudwallas. I think I probably have to. And then block Dragon, block Rudwalla. Do some pumping here. Frantic Search. Discarding Squeeze. Interesting. Okay. Take 7 down to 4. And now things get very interesting, actually. What I can do is I can get back the Dragon and Wrath plus Swords to Plowshares with Counterspell backup. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I'm gonna have enough mana to bring to just Counterspell and then some. I think I'd rather just untap. This Flooded Strand is dead, by the way. Doesn't really get anything. Don't want to get in there for a Dragon attack. Alternatively, you can just play another Dragon. I think my opponent's probably out of worms, and I still have access to Swords to Plowshares. Huh, that's actually very interesting. So let's cut. I think I'm just gonna cast a Dragon. Just leave the guys back to block. I think this is trying to set up circular logic, so I can just counterspell the Frantic Search. Daze. Double Daze is actually kind of brutal. So I think I'm just gonna let this go. Not gonna pay. And I purposely did this before attacking because I knew that this could just not work out. I think my opponent just asked another Daze. Maybe I should have played my island pre-combat. So there goes the logic. Can't pay. Play my land. Shift the turn back. So now I'm forcing my opponent to overextend a little bit to get through the Dragon. This is risky. I'm gonna be open to my opponent having something like Double Daze in hand, but they cannot have double... Oh, they actually can have circular logic, which would kill me. Oh, they have 4th worm? Oh, that's brutal. Them having 4th worm is just devastating. I was expecting my opponent to only have 3. So this is gonna be bad. So if they have another logic, I am pretty dead here. Or Double Daze. Otherwise, we just go to 1. Okay. Pay for Daze. And they have another one. Okay, so that kills me. Yeah, I guess I was dead regardless. Triple Daze did end up mattering. So let's go to game number 2. I want the Nulls because Survival, as we just saw, is kind of the best card in their deck. Blind Angel is decent. Arcane Lab also very interesting. Don't think I care for Meddling Mage. Maybe Disenchant is just better than Null, actually. On the play. On the draw, I think Null may be a little bit better because I can just counter it while I'm on the draw. Blinding Angel seems really good as long as my opponent doesn't have a Wonder. I think I want to cut the Last Breath and maybe a Decree. Yeah, it's probably fine. I do like Arcane Lab in this matchup, especially on the play. Maybe on the draw I will cut it. But if I'm limiting my opponent to only a single spell a turn... Okay, this looks good. Keep this. If I'm limiting my opponent to only a single spell a turn, I think that makes things pretty good for me. My best draw here would be Eternal Dragon, I guess. Island Study. Just 1 Rudwalla. That's fine. Land go. If my opponent pumps, I'm going to kill this. Otherwise, I'm not going to. Untap. Hopefully find a land. Dragon. Land. That place. Maybe I should have used that turn to drop this Arcane Lab. I think I'm going to Swords to Plowshare this right now. Get it out of the way. I do have to kind of play around days and stuff. Opponent does nothing. I think that's pretty good for me. Also, we get to play around days now. Play Arcane Lab. That resolved. Nice. This is Survival. Shift the turn. Discard Squee. We do this now. Because otherwise I'm allowing my opponent to put a Rudwalla into play. So that gets discarded. Opponent's going to draw Squee, but it's not really a big deal. They do get a Rudwalla. That's their play for the turn. That is acceptable. Fine draw. Not opposed to that one. Mongrel. Yeah, that's fine. So now I'm going to cycle Decree and make a 1/1 blocking Rudwalla. And then if my opponent pumps, that means that this Wrath of God is going to resolve. Another Wrath. Okay. Oh, actually they can... that's actually kind of annoying. So we're going to Wrath here, but my opponent can Circular Logic. Oh, they don't have it. Alright, cool. Just main phase Worm. Got it. Unfortunately, we kind of have to Wrath that away. We definitely need some card advantage going on here. Gonna be taking some beats from this Rudwalla. This Mana Leak's looking really bad. That's a really good draw. Spectacular draw. Okay, so now we're cooking. Now we are really cooking. I think in response to the pump, I'm going to Swords to Plowshares here. The reason being, if my opponent wants to Circular Logic this, I'm perfectly okay with that. But by getting rid of the Rudwalla, now my opponent has no pressure. So I can start to do Eternal Dragon things. Play land, pass the turn. Eternal Dragon on an empty board is very cool. So get a Plains, untap, Bring back the dragon. Terrible draw. I think I'm okay with taking one hit from this mongrel. Maybe 2 hits. Being at 17 and all. Okay, this is also pretty good because like it shows that my opponent doesn't really have that much going on over there. So untap, bring back dragon, Foth. Don't mind if I do. And then next turn we can use the dragon itself as an answer to the wild mongrel. So we're gonna take 4, going to Foth on end step. It may get countered, it may not get countered. Don't think it matters too much. And then we're going to untap and play a dragon. Fact or fiction on the stack. That's juicy. That's very juicy. Yep. Gonna take these decrease. Thank you very much. Gonna be taking this decrease of justice. Thank you, thank you. Untap. Let's play a land and fetch for an island. So the question is, what do we want to do? Because we can just cycle one of these decrease instead of playing an Eternal Dragon. But on the other hand, just casting this dragon is kind of nice. I mean, we have infinity blockers though, so I think let's just cycle a big decree here. We do get kind of punished if my opponent has Wonder in hand. That would be a big beating. But I'm gonna go for the full amount. I'm not gonna hold up Mana Leak. If my opponent has it, they have it. Put everything in front of the mongrel. My opponent can save it if they want, but that takes their entire hand. Actually, they can't even save it. Never mind. Okay, game number 3. Now I'm going to be on the draw, and I'm not super high on Mana Leak. Like, Mana Leak has been pretty bad so far, actually. Let's bring in the Decree, and I guess annuls. I mean, I already have Disenchant and Seal of Cleansing, so maybe this is just fine. I'm not super into Arcane Lab on the draw, though. Maybe it's just fine. Maybe it's just... We'll see. We're about to figure out. Once again, I think I'm going to keep this. Really want to see an Eternal Dragon. Once again, probably my best draw. Okay. Let's play an island, ship the turn back. This gives me some more time to figure out what I want to do with this Flooded Strand. May want to use it to fetch a blue source or a white source. Okay, now we know that we want to be fetching a white source. It's Rule Wall that's getting in there. Okay. Pretty likely my opponent doesn't have much going on over there. I think this is fine. We're going down to 10. It's a little root wall that could. Starting to become slightly problematic. I don't think I can counterspell this Careful Study, unfortunately. Like, I wish I could, but if I do that, then it's really awkward. Yeah, okay, that was pretty bad value for them. City of Brass. Alright, no pump. No pump is nice. So that probably means Circular Logic. It's interesting whether we Flash of Insight or we fetch for planes instead. Or we Factor Fiction, sorry. Survival. Gonna counterspell that. Untap. Impulse, looking for a land. Eternal Dragon's nice. Yeah, actually, let's do that. So now we fetch for a plains, and we cycle, ship the turn back. Pumps main phase. Oh, they want to use their weirdo lands because of Dust Bowl. Plains, ship the turn back. My opponent's very clearly holding on to Circular Logic over there. Gonna decree for 3. Now the question is whether do I just basically buy 3 chump blocks and slash Time Walk. I guess not Time Walk, just like double port. Or do I want to get rid of the root wall? I think I just want to do this. Just force my opponent to tap mana. Untap. Still not getting back the dragon. Find the land. Pass the turn back. Could probably swing for 1. Probably fine to do. Lock. Force the pump. Going to Foth here. Just snap resolved. Interesting. I think I want the first pile. Get some nice lands going on. Flash of Insight for 1. Get an Eternal Dragon. Untap. Cast Dragon now. My opponent's going to Circular Logic. That's fine. We can just get it back next turn. So now we don't have to deal with Logic anymore. Just send a turn back. We do have to be mindful of our life total though. Survival. Yeah, opponent doesn't attack because that means less mana. So we're going to have 9 mana next turn. I think I can use this turn to get back Dragon. Because I already have another plains in hand. Mana Leak is not bad. Play Seal of Cleansing. That resolves. Blow up Survival. This forces the action right now. Opponent worms. And I'm going to just not cast the worm. They just want to get the engine rolling. They'd rather just have a bunch of Walas instead. Interesting. Oh, because they're going to get Wonder. The question now is, do I attempt to bait? I think the answer is yes. What I mean by that is, do I just... Because I can source the Plowshares right now. Or I can just force my opponent to do something. And like force them to, like if they do have the... Okay, so they do have Mongrel. So if they do have Counter Magic now, I guess I'm still not dead. Swing with Wallace. I imagine they're going to discard Wonder. They let me block. Okay, we're just gonna let this trade happen. Take 2. Instead, we're gonna attempt to Source to Plowshares the Mongrel. The reason to Source to Plowshares here is that it forces my opponent to do something now. Like if they have Arrogant Worm, they have to cast it now. And then they can just get to untap and Wrath with Mana Leak backup. Discards Wonder, makes sense. And that just resolves. Interesting. They do know about this dragon. Don't think I can afford to mess around here. So I'll just do this. Opponent Logics, I Mana Leak. And I guess I Dust Bowl the Yavimaya Coast. Actually, I think my mana is more valuable than theirs. Just gonna use Arcane, put Arcane Lab into play here. Limit my opponent's chance of recovery. Mongrel is pretty good, not gonna lie. Mongrel is pretty great here. I have 10 mana, so I think I'm just going to play Eternal Dragon. And the goal here is to Flash of Insight in my opponent's end step. Worm, very good. That's very good. Hold, no attack. Flash of Insight on end step for a bunch. Another Eternal Dragon. Impulse. Woof. This is interesting. I have 11 mana. I have to FOF here, right? I have to FOF. Now we get back Dragon and do a Wrath. Play a land, Wrath of God, and send the turn back. So we cycle Dragon, get it back on upkeep, and cast it. Cast it through Daze, mind you. And now we just cast 1/5/5 flyer every turn. Man, I love Eternal Dragon so much. I love the dragon so much. So sick. Arcane Lab makes cards like... I think I even get to attack here because I have the Source of Plowshares. So Arcane Lab makes it so Frantic Search is not a concern. Naturalize the Arcane Lab. I guess my opponent can technically like Frantic Search into Arrogant Worm exactly. But then I still have Source of Plowshares, so it's fine. Okay, there's the Frantic Search. Naturalize Coast, null value. Alright, there you go. That felt pretty good. And we were covered against mostly everything here, right? Gilded Drake, Waterfront Bouncer, so... Alright, good stuff. That was fun. Round number 2, and look pretty good. We're going to keep it. I think I'm going to lead on Flooded Strand, because I know for a fact that I'm fetching for an island. So I might as well play around something like Stifle. This also gives me the option of playing an island or Plains on turn 2. Mog Fanatic. Hopefully this is Goblins and not Sly. We can probably deal with Goblins. Unlikely that we're going to be able to deal with Sly with this draw. Also game 1, we're pretty much dead to Sly. Regardless, I don't think that we can beat it, period. Pile Driver. Okay, cool. So we have a shot. Probably want to... Okay, Mana Leak. I think I may need that just so I don't die to these Pile Driver beatdowns. So we're going to try to slow roll things a little bit here. Gonna play the island this time around. We already have the plane, so this actually frees me up to Mana Leak something if I want to. I'm gonna take a healthy hit here, War Chief. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to let this go, take a bunch of damage, use my mana to Eternal Dragon. We go to 9, but this saves my Mana Leak. We go to 9 because I'm gonna take the Mog Fanatic ping, by the way. So now we untap, Wrath of God here. Obviously, if my opponent just untaps and, I don't know, they play Ringleader, it's gonna be pretty bad for me, but barring that, we're looking okay here. Ancient Tomb into Siege Gang, that's devastating. Yeah, that's absolutely brutal. So now I need another Wrath. I guess I can cycle Decree to soak up some damage, but it's not looking great. It's not looking great. So this means I take 3, and I need to draw Source of Plowshares kind of right now. Yeah, this is not looking great. That Tomb into Siege Gang was absolutely devastating. So I need to find exactly Source of Plowshares or Wrath of God, because otherwise the Siege Gang, like the Siege Gang by itself represents lethal. I'm taking 3 now, going down to 6, and then my opponent can just sack 2 of these to put me down to 2. Oh, am I just dead? I think, no, I'm actually just dead because my opponent had the land. Yeah, this is just lethal. I'm just dead. Assuming my opponent sees the line, right? Which I struggle to believe they won't. Oh, they messed it up. Because now Moss Fire Valley just messed them up very badly. They needed to tap Moss Fire Valley Ancient Tomb and then leave the mountain up. Because now my opponent cannot leave the mana floating without sacking the thing. So Ancient Tomb actually punishing my opponent a little bit here. But yeah, they should have gone to damage. So sack the 2 blocked ones, then gone to damage, and then they sack the last one. So hopefully it's gonna be a costly misstep for them. Hopefully. I'm not super hopeful, to be honest. Yeah. So now we need to draw specifically Source of Plowshares to have a shot, and we're dead to Mog Fanatic and a bunch of other things. So main phase, this FOF. Hey, So my opponent should split Swords to Plowshares versus the rest. And now I'm kind of dead to everything anyway, so I guess I don't attack. I still don't think I can win this game for what's worth, but yeah, War Chief is bad for us. Pile Driver, that's enough for me. We do have some tools though. Bring this. I'm really excited to try out Blinding Angel. It seems really hilarious. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like game winning by itself or anything like that, but I just think it's hilarious. So we'll see how good or bad it actually is. On the draw, I think I want to cut Counterspell and Prohibit. Maybe an Eternal Dragon. Bring back the Counterspell. Let's go with this. I don't think Meddling Mage is where I want to be. It is definitely interesting though, right? Just like having a 2/2, especially on the play, so my opponent goes strong one lacking, I can just play Meddling Mage, and that just bricks brick walls. Sounds pretty good. Would love to find probably a Wrath. So Lucky, nice and clean Swords to Plowshares there. Gonna play around Wasteland. Copper Red would be great. Actually, if I find Copper Red, I'm probably in great shape. And the Lucky's not what I wanted to see. Cycle Dragon and Mana Leak. Definitely not what I want to see. So now Lucky's gonna connect. That's going to be kind of a disaster. Oof, Port. Oh my god. That is so brutal. Just don't Siege Gang me, bro. Ringleader. Oof. Ringleader and War Chief. Okay, please cast the War Chief now. Please get greedy and cast the War Chief so that I have a shot at winning this game. I'm gonna cycle here because I really need to find an answer. That's so bad. Draw Counter Spell. Gross. Most certainly not it. Okay, so we're not looking great here. At least I have a counter spell for a War Chief if my opponent chooses to go for that. But yeah, my opponent should just not do anything. Just swing with the team. Just call it a day. On the plus side, if we do manage to find a Wrath, we may be okay. Oh, never mind. My opponent has 7 cards in hand, one of which I know is a Ringleader. Yeah, this is not great. This is just not happening. I guess I need to find Copper Red. Feels like the only way that I win this game now. Okay, that's the War Chief. So I think what I'm going to do here is I am just going to cycle Decree for 1, just to have a blocker for the Goblin Lackey. And I'm just going to hope that... I'm assuming my opponent's going to play it correctly and just let me go to draw phase. Okay, here's the Plains, send it back. At least we have the Wrath now, so there is a chance. It's not extremely likely my opponent's able to set up lethal right now, because I have a chump blocker for a Pile Driver. And whatever they play is just gonna get Wrathed. And Port can't save them from the Wrath. Look at how much better, once again, another fantastic example of how much better Wasteland is than Rishadan Port. Here my opponent is able to like disrupt my mana in a very effective way, while still being able to have their mana to cast their future spells. So if my opponent had a Wasteland, they would have Wastelanded my Darker Wastes, then Wastelanded the other Darker Wastes, and then eventually next turn I'm just going to play an island and I'm just going to Wrath them. And there's nothing they can do, and at that point they're left with only 2 mana to work with. But because they're playing Port instead of Wasteland, we find ourselves in a situation where even after I Wrath, my opponent has 4 mana to work with, which is going to make it extremely easy for them to recoup and recover afterwards. So yeah, Port is just incredibly better than Wasteland in the Goblins deck, in my opinion. By so much, it's not even funny. There we go. Does my opponent have the Pile Driver? Wow, is this actually lethal? I think it is. Wow, very impressive. Oh, down to 1. I guess I miscounted. Don't play anything with Lackey. My opponent's playing really well. My opponent's playing really well. So now we Wrath, we start over, and Counterspell is a dead card. We technically do have access to our Eternal Dragon in the graveyard, but unclear how much that's really going to achieve. So I think my opponent should just port the basic planes. We're going to float the white mana, so at least we can Swords to Plowshares, the Ringleader we know they have. So we're not just dead. Okay, so float the blue. Now we go to second main phase. And if they have something like Mob Fanatic, we just die. 4 mana to Ringleader, which we cannot counter. Yeah, a lot of those are lethal. So Swords to Plowshares now. And okay, so what are we doing here? Do I need to get back the dragon? Or do I just blow up the Garplusen Forest? Can I even afford to get back the dragon? I get back the dragon. No, because then I just get ported. So I think I just have to Dust Bowl this turn, throwing away a Darker Waste. Hydroblast is big. That is big game. We only have a single blue mana though, so... Man, what an interesting game. I have to let that go, otherwise I just lose. And fetches, and now we get to Mana Leak this. We know about Sharpshooter. and nothing else. So I guess we're gonna Dust Bowl the Port, and then we're going to plow the Prospector and hold up Hydroblast. Hanging in there, I guess. The terrible part is, like, we know for a fact my opponent does not have bad cards, right? We know for a fact that we have to counter this because it get Mock Fanatic and we die. But like, we know for a fact that they have business spells in hand, which is kind of brutal. Yeah, Flooded Strand doesn't do it. I can throw it at a Carplusum Forest. That's really the best that I can do. Representing that my last card is a Hydroblast, which is it. It's not, so... I mean, I can technically, like, draw another removal spell and just wrath my opponent or whatever, but... So there's Sharpshooter and removal one time. That's hilarious. Once again, are we gonna see the Source of Plowshares into the 1 and 4 split? No! Oh, look at all those great cards. My opponent just gives me everything. Man, that's a lot of confidence right there. That's a lot of confidence right there. But yeah, unfortunately, that's gonna be enough. GG's. Well played, opponent. Well played. See you for the next round. Here we go with round number 3. This hand looks pretty good. Would love to find an Eternal Dragon that we kind of have, if not all of our bases covered, we have most of them. I'm going to lead on basic planes. As I said in the previous match, maybe I should be leading on Flooded Strand for an island, but I don't know, maybe I draw a Wrath and a bunch of islands in a row and I just get punished, so delaying the decision is basic island, Mox Diamond, City of Brass, so this is most likely Gro-a-Tog. Meddling Mage, I imagine, naming Source of Plowshares. So I am going to go ahead and attempt to disenchant right now before my opponent gets another bite at the apple. Obviously we draw we draw the card that was just named with this with the Meddling Mage. So let's disenchant right now. My opponent could have days if they do have the days. It is what it is. But we definitely want to be drawing some lands here. Eternal Dragon would probably be my best top deck. Oddly enough, I'm afraid I'm going to need to cycle this Friction Furnace if I do miss my land drop. I do think that it's way too important for me to be hitting land drops here. When importance, targeting themselves, ×2. Well, the second portent, unless they shuffled. Yeah, my opponent did not shuffle. They should have probably targeted me with the second portent. Eternal Dragon is a great draw. So let's plain cycle here, and I think I'm just going to cycle this Furnace on end step. And I know that I'm not holding Prohibit for the turn, but again, it's just way too important to make sure that I can... If my opponent fetches for a plains and they play another Meddling Mage, we're super screwed, but... Okay, so cycle. Hoping to hit that land drop. Impulse. Yeah, I'm going to Impulse here. Coastal Tower. Or the Wrath of God. Oh man, I think I need to just get the Coastal Tower here. This is super awkward. If I had an island there, I would have taken the island, but I think awkwardly enough, I just need to hit my land drops here. If my opponent just goes land into Armageddon, we're just super dead. There's nothing we can do about that. So, but awkwardly enough, I think I just have to hit my land drop here. I cannot really afford to miss a land drop there. Okay, them gushing there, I don't like that. So now I don't need to be scared of Armageddon anymore. That's great for me. They get to opt a couple of times. Seems pretty good against me. Like, if I find a Decree of Justice, I'm gonna be cooking now. We're still at 15, which is a healthy life total. Pitch the island, opponent swings, and draw it. Okay, we're on a clock now. We're most certainly on a clock now. Like, I need to find one of my remaining Wrath of Gods really quickly. Man, I'm just gonna main phase this Factor Fiction here. My opponent could have days. That would be a disaster. Yeah, I think I'm just too far behind here. Like, we're just gonna die. Like, I don't think I can come back from this. So we're just gonna go on to the next game. I do like Blinding Angel. I do like this one. If my opponent does see that one coming, I'm gonna be pretty excited. Probably need to hold on to these Wraths. Meddling Mage is extremely interesting. So is Arcane Lab. I think I want the lab. Maybe don't want the Meddling Mages. We're gonna be on the draw here. So I still want Disenchant over Annul, I think. We can cut the Furnaces. My opponent could have access to Wonder, however. So maybe that's very annoying. I don't know. I don't think I care about Blue Elemental Blast. They probably have like a Pyroblast, maybe two. But I think I like all my other cards better. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this. And that Meddling Mage was an absolute beating. Turn 1 Mage just soloed me. Yep, keep this one. I guess I'm supposed to keep in Disenchants. Maybe even bring in Annul because of Winter Orb. Winter Orb is a card I am kind of worried about to an extent. not really I can't beat it, but it's kind of hard for me to beat it. Man, again, turn 1 Mox Diamond. Again, Peach into City of Brass. Okay, this is a lot more beatable, however. Eternal Dragon. I'm gonna do this right now. If my opponent wants to foil my Source of Plowshares, I'm okay with that. Maybe I should have just disenchanted, but like playing around days feels pretty good here. Sleight of hand. New art is kind of funny. Okay, Meddling Mage. Okay, that's going to be fine now that I have already used my Source of Plowshares. So now I get to disenchant the Mox. Okay, we do have the Eternal Dragon looking good here. Would love to find an island. If I find an island, I'm gonna be feeling pretty comfortable. I am pretty terrified of Armageddon. Okay, that's cool. So now I can do something about getting Meddling Mage doing its thing. The question now is, am I cycling both dragons or just the one? I'm definitely cycling the first one. I think I'm only going to be cycling that one. I have time to cycle the other one if I need to, but I definitely know when to tap out of Counterspell / Prohibit. Yeah, my opponent did not do anything last turn, so I'm definitely prohibiting here. Just uses my mana, hopefully makes things awkward for my opponent. Fetch an island. Let's see what we draw. Last Breath. That's a good one. So I think I just upkeep this Last Breath here. Oh, forgot to put the stop. Whoopsies. Yeah, this portent is fine. This one I'm not going to counter. Actually, maybe I should have, now that I think about it. Because it would have allowed me to not need to hold up Counterspell next turn. So I'm not going to take damage for free. One floats 2 mana. If they gush now, I think I Counterspell it. Oh, they just Counterspell. I'm going to counter your counter. So now I begin playing the dragon game. Gush in response. Mage dead. Cycle Dragon. Go to Plains. Untap. Upkeep. Flash of Insight. I guess I just do play my land here. I can cycle Dragon. Oh man, this Armageddon is going to destroy me if my opponent finds it. Missed Land Drop is interesting. Missed Land Drop is very interesting. Dragon me, baby. Wrath of God. I think I don't play any more lands now. Opponent finally goes for the Dryad. I think I'm going to play a Dragon here instead of Wrathing. That's going to force my opponent to do stuff, I think. Arcane Lavis. Yeah, I think we do that now. And we're going to lab through days here. My opponent does have the Geddon. They don't get to Gush and Geddon. Would definitely make things a lot easier for me. There's Armageddon. We knew about that. We suspected about that, I should say. So now I have to find some lands. And I really wish I had been able to put a threat into the battlefield at some point. Really wish I had had the opportunity. Can't play spells. Maybe I was not supposed to play around days because of this specific scenario. Like if I was, I guess I have to choose whether I want to play around Armageddon or I want to play around days. Just cannot do both. It's a land. I mean, we're not too far away from just coming back here. That's going to be the Mage. Naming Source of Plowshares. Unsurprisingly. Every time. That's very funny. Yeah, okay, I think that one's too much. Yeah, this matchup is just very bad for us. I mean, this is a bad matchup for control decks in general, I understand. Okay, yeah. Soon enough. We probably have even worse matchup than Standstill because we don't have manlands, right? So having access to Mishra's Factory kind of like stops the Meddling Mage attacking you problem. So I imagine that this matchup in particular is worse for this version of the deck than Force. But yeah, let's keep learning. On to the 4th round. What do we got here? Some lands and Factor Fiction. Can I keep this? Probably not. I really want to, but okay, at least I have some interaction now. Okay, I'll keep this. I'm gonna bottom the Darker Waste. And yeah, let's do this thing. Let's see what we're up against. Remote Isle. Fluctuator? It's gotta be Fluctuator. Hopefully my opponent will play around the counter magic instead of just jamming, which can buy me more time. Source of Plowshare is not gonna do too much here. Yeah, so this has to be Fluctuator here. Looks like it is. Cloud of Fairies. 1/1 flyer. Clock is on. Alright, now we actually have an answer. So that's cool. Still unclear on whether I want to cycle this or not. Maybe I should just wait a little bit longer. Definitely going to plow this. We still have Wrath in case my opponent plays something larger. Alright, opponent's playing slow. Coastal Tower, decent draw there. Would love to find Factor Fiction, something like that. It's possible my opponent is waiting here to just like play 2 Fluctuators in the same turn, in which case I'm probably quite dead. And Counterspell. Okay, Impulse. Not terrible, not terrible. So now we can Impulse into Counterspell plus Prohibit. So even if my opponent has a double Fluctuator, we still have something to do about it. If they don't do anything, I'm probably just going to cycle Decree for 3 tokens and begin the onslaught. Cloud of Fairy. That's fine because I'm winning the race. So I'm going to let that resolve just fine. Another land. So lucky that opponent's hitting all their land drops. So cycle Decree for 3. Okay, now we're looking pretty good. I do wonder if my opponent had the Fluctuator at any point. Drifting Djinn. 6 mana, 5/5 flyer that costs you 2 every upkeep. Fluctuator. Nuh-uh. Actually, what if I let the Fluctuator go and I just counter the payoff? Is that crazy? I guess my opponent could have 2 payoffs and that would probably blow me out, so maybe not worth doing that. Let's impulse here to see what's up. We get to Flash of Insight or Eternal Dragon. I guess I'm gonna Flash of Insight. Allows me to cast it right now, which is fine. Just cash that in and then keep on serving. What if I let this resolve? I think I'm gonna let this resolve because I just don't have enough. So I'm just gonna hope that my opponent only has the one form of interaction. And I'm just going to like threaten here to do some stuff. Opponent doing some cycling. Also letting this resolve may tell my opponent that I don't have an answer. It may suggest to my opponent that I don't have an answer. Expunge main deck. Let's go. Okay, so that resolves. Cloud of Fairies gets in there. Songs of the Damned. Show me the duress. Cycling? Wait, what? How could they have fizzled? I assume they were playing against Flint's version of this deck, which is mostly blue. And then in the sideboard, it has access to cards like Miscalculation and what's the name of the other card? Drifting Djinn. We're gonna Flash of Insight here for X equals 2. Let's see what we find. Mana Leak. Okay, guess that's better than the Plains. And I guess I counter this because I now have the Mana Leak. Maybe I should have let that resolve and simply Wrath of God. But then I don't have a clock anymore, so my opponent gets to have some agency over how we play this game. Another Fluctuator. That's fine. My opponent has 2 Songs of the Damned. Maybe I should have just left the Djinn resolve. Haunting Misery? Wow. So initial cost to cast a spell, exile X creature cards from your graveyard, deals X damage to target player or planeswalker. That was cool. Okay. So let's serve now. And now they can't have, like, that was it. Like, they cannot have something else now. Yeah, I think we played this game pretty well. So now I can make 2 angels. Is that better than making 5 soldiers? I think it is because it leaves the possibility of wrathing open. Like if my opponent plays a 5/5 flyer, I just untap and wrath. That we're winning assist, right? So I don't think the onus is on us to get there. Yeah. So that's a 2/3 for 4. So we just untap, play a land, let's swing for 2, and I don't think I wrath just yet because this gives us the option. Because now I just cycle an end step and I just turn the tides on my opponent. Yeah. So now swing for 1, wrath, hold up counter. Opponent's doing some cycling. I mean, they're gonna deck now, so they have to be careful. Sandbar Murphwalk. 1 mana, 1/1. Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Untap, impulse. So I have 9 mana, so let's impulse, looking for Eternal Dragon. So now we get to cycle, go to Plains, play the Plains, send the turn back, take 1. I'm particularly scared of this. We have 10 mana now. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna counter that. All right, cool. Got there. So this matchup should get dramatically better post-board. Like all of these cards are just spectacular against them. Annul's also great, much better than Disenchant. We can cut Last Breath. We definitely want the 4th Dust Bowl. Furnace is fine. I want all my counter magic. I don't think I want Disenchants. Like Annul is just a better card. We can cut just the Source to Plowshares. I do have to respect the potential of the instant speed, get all my creatures from the graveyard angle. So I think I'm gonna respect that. I'm gonna cut the Eternal Dragon and just submit this. Okay, number 2, and this is why we only have 2 counter spells, right? I'm probably gonna keep this hand anyway. If my opponent has a turn 2 Fluctuator, so be it. It's not very likely. They don't really have that many ETB and tap lands. They have 5, I think, total. That's one of them. That's one of the 5. Yeah. Definitely hoping we don't get comboed out this coming turn. Okay. We do have to be scared of stuff like Misdirection and whatnot, but on the plus side, we do have Meddling Mage, though. We can draw towards. Yeah, I'm actually going to get the Darker Ways here, so at least I have 1 layer of protection, and immediately find a redundant copy. That's just Justice right there. That's what that is. But I mean, Eternal Dragon and some other goodies. I mean, this is still fine. Now, if I do find Meddling Mage, we get to Meddling Mage with Counterspell backup, which is pretty nice. So another ATB tap land, and we impulse again on end step. Huh. Arcane Lab or Factor Fiction? I think I'm actually going to take the Arcane Lab. Factor Fiction does allow me to do something on my opponent's end step, but like I'm going to discard anyway. So I'm just going to chill this turn. Probably going to cycle Decree for 1, and then I get to untap and cast Arcane Lab with Counterspell backup. I think they do have answers to enchantments, so I do have to be wary of that. A little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Definitely cycling one of these decrees, just having a 1/1 dude chilling play. No blue mana for my opponent, notably, so I guess no miscalc. We found the ETB untapped blue source. Cycle the land. If my opponent ships the turn back, I'm gonna be feeling very comfortable, I think. So I think this puts us in a pretty decent spot now. Arcane Laboratory is not an easy card for my opponent to beat. Alternatively, I can start Dust Bowling them, but I think Arcane Lab is just more impactful here. They could just have like an answer to this, and that would be very problematic, but if they don't, this puts me in very, very commanding position. Man, the Fluctuator deck is so interesting. The little soldier that could. Okay, let's see if they have the clear on my end step. Looks like they do. We can protect it with Counterspell because we already the Arcane Lab. Oh, they don't. Okay, cool. So now I'm feeling pretty confident. Pendrel Drake. Yeah, that's gonna resolve. Now we can cycle Dragon, untap, and we just Dust Bowl the Cavern. I guess I pitch a Plains. So that really limits the amount of spells that they can cast. And now we can start Dust Bowling every single blue source that they find. We have the Annul for Fluctuator. We have Counterspell for something a little bit more important. I think we're doing all right. This is actually an interesting decision. Do we choose to start blowing up their lands? Fluctuator, just annul that. Do we start blowing up their lands? Or, yeah, I think we do. Okay, my opponent just backs it in, but I think I was going to start blowing up their lands. Probably starting off with the white source, and they go from there. But yeah, Dust Bowl is pretty good against Fluctuator. All right. Good games, Aaron Relentless. Round number 5, I think. Okay, let's keep this. We have a bunch of lands, but this Last Breath has interaction, and these Eternal Dragons are just too sexy to pass up. Red into Mog Fanatic. Okay, maybe I should have thought about this a little bit more. I mean, the red matchup is just unwinnable game 1, so if we are indeed playing against the red deck, I don't think that we can realistically expect to win it ever. Once again, if it's Goblins, we have a shot, but okay, it is Goblins. So I'm just gonna Last Breath this Pile Driver here. Should give me a little bit of breathing room. Play a Plains, but definitely want to have access to, I know if a Decree, but some way to like bridge the gap a little bit here. Or Wrath of God as a way to catch up. Either or. I'm starting to believe that I should definitely be respecting this deck much more than I am. Can I even not counter this? I don't think I can not counter this actually. Prospector. Okay, that's not a lackey, so at least there's that. Okay, that basic Plains was just a heinous draw. extremely bad draw. I'm gonna take 2 here. Uh-oh, means they're jamming Ringleader. Matron. It's not as bad, still pretty bad because that's gonna get a Ringleader now. Yep, you get to cycle one of these dragons. Hopefully find, okay, Decree. That's something, I guess. Almost something, at least. Wasteland is actually kind of annoying there. So I'm just gonna float a blue mana. Yeah, so now my opponent knows that the Ringleader is gonna resolve. I do feel like I do have to cycle here, though. Oh, terrible draw. How do I get out of this now? Notably, as I pointed in the previous match, where Port were so much better than Wasteland, Wasteland is super much better than Port right here. Yeah. My experience is that the situations where Port is better happen a lot more often. But yeah, this is definitely a situation where Wasteland better than Port here. But because of this, right, like I could have also just not done anything and represent Mana Leak. And like, what if I have Mana Leak? Then we're still in the same spot, right? Oh my god. The entire whiff key? Great for me, but I don't think it's going to be enough, unfortunately. I'm just a little bit too far behind here. Yep, that's a dead draw. Ugh. So yeah, so we're kind of still in really bad shape here. We'll see if my opponent smells blood here. Take 4, down to 10, another Matron. I don't think I can cycle this dragon in this scenario where I'm trying to represent counter magic. We'll just untap, hopefully draw something good. It's not something good. It's definitely not something good. And these draws have not cooperated. Yep, got nothing. Yeah, that's too much. So even if I had the Wrath, I just Wrath and then my opponent just kills me with their thing anyway, so definitely want the Cop Reds, want the Blue Elemental Blast / Rebs. Cut the stupid Disenchants, cut the Furnaces. I think I want to cut the Counter Spells. Do I just want Meddling Mage as a random 2/2 blocker? Kind of feeling it, honestly. I mean, it's an answer to a lackey on the draw. It's got an Eternal Dragon, maybe 2? It's got a Decree. Like, I don't love the Meddling Mages, but I think 2 of them are fine. Maybe on the draw I switch things around a little bit. It definitely feels in playing the games that I may have underestimated, if it's possible. I may have underestimated the red decks, beat Goblins and Burn. But like these feel really, really rough. I'm gonna keep this. These feel extremely rough. Like my opponent has turn 1 Lackey here. I'm just super dead, right? Don't really have a great way to come back. I'm also susceptible to Wasteland. Yeah, I just can't do anything. Woof! Alright, yeah, we're gonna have to do this main phase to not get blown out by my opponent's potential Power Blast. But yeah, that was a sweat. Swords of Plowshares would be great here. Please Wasteland me, okay. Please don't have another Lackey. Okay, now we're cooking. Now I can do stuff. I mean, we still need to find a land. Probably multiple lands, but land, please. Okay, okay. We're in this, we're in this. Nothing. Okay, let's impulse. Looking for a land. Dust Bowl or Darker Waste. I'm just gonna take the Darker Waste. Just make sure that I have more blue sources, even if they're a little bit painful. War Chief with red backup. This is what we gotta do. There's the Red Elemental Blast. Feeling very smart from main phase killing the the Lackey now. Land. It's not great. Maybe I should have cycled the Decree when I had the chance. Now I'm a little bit far behind. When I had 3 mana at one point and I could have cycled the Decree, and I just didn't. And I'm starting to regret it. Siege Gang. So now we have to Wrath. It's the only out we have. So we're gonna cycle Decree. Siege Gang actually an answer to Blinding Angel. That's how badly we're doing. Prohibit wouldn't have done anything against the Siege Gang there even. I guess I can cycle and block a bunch. Yep. Wasteland. Just have to do this now. Like, the extra token matters a lot in this current scenario. Hydroblast. Ay. So I think we just block the 3 Goblins. If my opponent takes the trade, well, they take the trade. That's fine. If they throw them at me, or if they throw 2 of them at me, I still have a couple of blockers, and that uses their entire turn. This Hydroblast is a good draw. Yep. Opponent's going face. And now we go to 2. We untap and we kill the Siege Gang. And we do have some blockers. Now we go to 1. I mean, I think we just have to do this, right? We just have to hope my opponent doesn't have another Siege Gang or a Morgue Fanatic. Like, it's not great, but like I need to get this Angel into play so that I can start to turn this around. So I can beat 3 attackers as long as they're not Goblin Matron, Morgue Fanatic. Yeah, okay, that's one that beats me. I lose to most things here, right? Like Morgue Fanatic, Sharpshooter, another Siege Gang I do, but over 2 turns, which gives me potentially time to find a way around it. But yeah, I'm dead to like so many things here. But I do think that my best chance of winning is still the same, which is like resolving Blinding Angel and then hoping that I get to untap. So I still think that this is the correct line. The alternative would have been to like hold up Prohibit, but that's just so bad and so inefficient. Speaking of bad and inefficient, Blinding Angel may be like a little bit too narrow. I think that's the word that I want to use. I'm not gonna call it bad, even though that's kind of what I mean. But maybe it's a little bit too narrow. So yeah, let's play the last match. Here we go with the last match. I think this hand is fine. Yeah, this hand's great. Wish I had access to Wrath of God. Speaking of Wrath of God, maybe this should be like the last card that I play over Blinding Angel in my sideboard. Maybe just Wrath of God. Maybe Humility. The problem I had with Humility is that you are like it's spectacular obviously when it's good, and then your opponent sometimes just has to naturalize and then you die. So maybe it's like strong enough that we're supposed to play the singleton copy. Maybe that's what it should be. It is definitely a card that I thought about. The problem is like it's kind of a numbo with Eternal Dragon, right? Like the idea is that your late game is like you just play a bunch of 5-drops and then you're cooking, and you can't really do that when you have Humility. Are we playing against red-green? Can I finally see whether my deck is good or it sucks? Pile Driver. 3rd Goblins player in a row. Kind of brutal, honestly. I guess it's not in a row. There was a different player in between. Okay, let's see if we can actually win this time around. We do have the Wrath, so that part is nice. My opponent has remarkably bad mana. Cycle Dragon here, and tap. Probably gonna port my Waste. Then I get to play another one. Oh, just an island. Perfect. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. And I do get to potentially mana screw them because I can just next turn throw these Darker Wastes at the Carplusen Forest potentially. Take 1. Found the red source. These Goblins draw I can beat. Turn 1 Lackey into turn 2. Pile Driver into... yeah, that one I cannot beat. Another Pile Driver. Impulse. I think I'm just gonna take the second Wrath here. One taps the dual land. what to do here. I guess I play out the Dust Bowl to threaten. Like, I can still Wrath if I want to, right? Unless my opponent finds a second port, in which case it's fine. I just take 4 and I'm at 19, so I think I can afford to do that. But now if they spend their turn tapping me, I can just Dust Bowl them and then play my land drop, CD Brass. And now what? Matron for Ringleader. And surprisingly, I tap my land, Factor Fiction. So here, if we need to, I can just cycle Decree and have a chump blocker for the pile driver. Actually, that doesn't work. Never mind. Maybe I should have just Wrathed. Yeah, probably should have had Wrathed. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, should have just Wrathed. That was a mistake on my part. I forgot about the fact that Mock Fanatic makes blocking not a possibility. Definitely a mistake on my part. Yeah, this game, man, this game should have been closer. And now I'm in really bad shape. So we're gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down to 5. It's a lot of damage. I do need to cycle here, so otherwise I'm taking even more. Would love to find like a Source of Plowshares or something like that. Oh, they have Gem Palm? Brutal. Kind of brutal. So we're taking 11, 12. Weesh. And we found an island. Okay, Mana Leak's not terrible. I'm representing counter magic here. So we're at 3. Port my land. Definitely have to float the mana here so that my opponent cannot play Ringleader pre-combat. Oh, they did it on their own upkeep. Very well played. Very well played. So now they're gonna be able to resolve something juicy. Hopefully it's just a siege gang so that I can Wrath War Chief. I'm actually just dead right now. Their only unknown card, like the one that they top decked, was a War Chief. Pretty good. Game number 2, once again. Got the Disenchants, got the Furnaces. I'm suspecting I don't even want Blinding Angel. Don't even want it in my deck. We're gonna bring in Circles, Blood and Metal Blast and stuff. And I guess some Eternal Drag, kind of cut an Eternal Dragon. Cut the counter spells. Just go with this. Let's see if we can just take one game from Goblins. Let's see if that's a thing we can do. Definitely keeping this hand. We're probably gonna go. It's gonna be pretty awkward, but like we're gonna go turn 1 Plains, turn 2. That way, if my opponent has a Lackey, we can actually plow it on end step and then hold up Mana Leak on turn 2. Because that seems like potentially an easy way that we can lose an otherwise winnable game. Just get jebaited. Get jebaited by the Coastal Tower, just getting the ETB tap land out of the way, and then get punished. Another Mana Leak. Okay, that's cool. Carplucent Forest. Seems like a fine use for our Mana Leak. And now we get to use this turn to drop the Coastal Tower. I was considering playing the Filter Land, the Odyssey Filter Land, instead of Coastal Tower, but I think I like the Coastal Tower better. Like, it's the only ETB tap land in the entire deck. Fine, like it's not great, but it's pile driver. I think I'm gonna plow instead so that we can save our Mana Leak for something like a Ringleader instead. Okay, finding another Source of Plowshares is not bad. Lackey is fine, we can just plow it. I think I'm gonna fall on instead though, because my opponent missed a land drop. They could have Pyroblast for this. Ooh, that's juicy. Flash of Insight and we can mill it. Oh my god, look at the value. Important to note that my opponent missed a land drop there. That's an important land drop. Did we get to bin both the Dragon and the Flash of Insight if we take this Wrath of God here? Wow. Yeah, this split is great for us. So we bin the Wrath. We already put the Flash of Insight in the graveyard, which is great. We have another Factor Fiction. We have the Eternal Dragon going. Ooh, baby. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's play this Cop Red. Send it back. If my opponent has Naturalize, we get to leak it. And now we have Cop as an answer to this. And if they do have another Naturalize, we get to plow the Lackey anyway. Looking good here, looking good. Okay. Second Naturalize. That's my opponent's entire turn. So I think I'm just going to just Cop Red here. And I could have plowed there. Maybe that'll come back to bite me. I don't know. If I find a land here, yeah, okay. I'm looking really good here now. So if my opponent swings, I just get to Decree for 3. Still have Dragon. Still have Flash of Insight in the graveyard. If my opponent brought in Pyrokinesis against me, they deserve it. They wanted more than I did, so they deserve it. But Soldiers are really relevant here. And now we have 7 lands to my opponent's 3. I think we will be okay. In fact, I think I'm going to be using this turn to drop this Eternal Dragon. Matron. I think I'm just going to Eternal Dragon here and just put my opponent in a pretty serious clock. Yeah, especially having drawn the second Dragon. Like, I can just Dragon now, then Dragon again next turn. Gonna get in there with one single token. It can matter. It can matter. So now my opponent's gonna get to Ringleader, but like that's fine. Unless I see War Chief and then some. Oh, they also play like a differently framed Ringleader. So now we know that they have more green leaders here. Okay, Warchief is actually a real threat. So unless I find the land, I cannot just spend this turn casting another dragon, unfortunately. Warchief is very real. So if I find another land, okay, now I'm fine because I can just swing for 5, and then when my opponent does the thing next turn, I can just plow the Warchief anyway. So there's the Warchief. That's pile driver. Here we just plow to remove the haste from the pile driver. No, my opponent doesn't have attacks. Dust Bowl. Yeah, let's do that. let's just do that. Here I can Flash of Insight for 3. So we swing for 10 in the air. We still have blockers. We have Factor Fiction. We have Flash of Insight. The question is whether do we FOF or do we Flash? I think we FOF. Flash allows me to find Counterspell though. I guess Mana Leak. We don't have Counterspell in the deck, so... Yeah, we got there! It only took my opponent missing a land drop on turn 3, but we got there. Now is for all the marbles. All of them marbles. Do we want Meddling Mage or not? Honestly, it may be better than Prohibit. And everything else is fine. Yeah, everything else is okay. Brutal. 2 removal spells but no white source. And we have a lot of white sources. Opponent went to 6. I'm gonna go to 6 as well. This hand has exactly the opposite issue. Okay, now we have colors, but we have nothing going on. Great. So I'm gonna keep this one. Gonna bottom the FOF. And I guess I'm gonna bottom a land. Really have to find something good here. Really have to find the Wrath. That's why I kept the Flash of Insight, by the way. Opponent moves to 4. I actually have lost to Goblins on a moves to 4. So moving to 4 doesn't mean anything if they have turn 1 Lackey into Siege Gang. Unless I find an answer to the Lackey. No Lackey. Now this is actually a time where I'm willing to just drop this Coastal Tower here. Port. Okay, this is exactly the game that I want to be playing. This is exactly the game I want to be playing right now. Okay, so now we have a way to catch up. Would love to dodge Warchief here. Matron. Okay, Matron is fine. It's not as much pressure as Warchief would be. Because now anything that they play, that just means that they're not porting me. So Counter Magic would be great here. Mana Leak, something. No. Annoying. I guess I'm going to play out the fetch land. And I think I Flash of Insight instead of Eternal Dragon. I guess it depends. Okay, they play the land, and I imagine they're just going to Ringleader here. So if they do, I think I Flash of Insight. Yeah, because I'm looking for Counter Magic or something like that. Although I guess if I don't Flash of Insight here, I get to do it next turn for X equals 2. Lucky. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go for Flash instead, because I'm not going to be able to Flash for a long time. And I'd rather be able to allow myself to draw like a Rev, Blue Elemental Blast or something. That's terrible pickup, but port Coastal Tower, another Wrath of God, play an island, ship the turn back. We do have a couple of Wraths at least. So Lucky Connect. Imagine, yeah, they put Ringleader into play, which finds Lucky, Siege Gang, and then some. Probably gonna have to Wrath here, unfortunately. But a Plane Cycle. Actually, do I have enough life to play with? Flash of Insight not looking great with my current hand. Ugh, that's not a good draw. Not a good pickup. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to Wrath here. So what Wrath does here is it forces my opponent to spend their entire turn just like dropping a Lackey and then potentially tapping me on upkeep. Or they can just drop a Siege Gang, in which case I just get to untap and Wrath again. I imagine, yeah, they're just gonna drop a Lackey that we know about. And just nothing else, just tap me on upkeep. I'm gonna get back Dragon anyway here. Prospector. It's a lot more threatening, but I just don't think my opponent's got enough going on here. So we're just gonna get back Dragon. Find the Source of Plowshares. Another Dragon's not great. So these Lackey's gonna connect. Opponent forgot to tap my planes. Don't think it's gonna matter. This Siege Gang is gonna deal a healthy amount of damage though. Man, we'd love to find any sort of counter magic here. So there's a Siege Gang. We're at 14, so we're not dead right now. And we get to Wrath and clear the board here. Far from being out of the woods, but... Oh no, don't be sharp. Oh no, the Sharpshooter is fine. Okay, Matron. Guess they're setting up the next wave. So you only get to shock me twice. So I'm at a virtual 10. Definitely love to find Counterspell. Source of Plowshares. Yeah, I have to Wrath here. That's a lot of... Oh no! Is this Color of the Claw? Oh my god, am I about to get Color of the Claw here? Yeah, where I'm about to get Color of the Claw. Yep. Guess they did that to play around Mana Leak. Well, boy, am I dead now, huh? Yeah, I guess that happened. No, I need to find exactly Wrath number 3. Unlikely. I literally have never seen this card do anything at all out of elves, but like this is the very first time. Out of goblins, I mean. This is the very first time, so it is kind of exciting. So this is gonna be 10 damage. I probably have to plow the ringleader anyway, because I'm taking infinity damage. This Flash of Insight sucking so badly here. I mean, if I find exactly Wrath, we may be okay, actually. Wrath? No. Damn you. Damn you, Manaleek. I mean, not that my opponent played around it very well anyway, so not that it mattered, but still. Okay, well, yeah, we cannot beat goblins. that was established. This deck cannot beat goblins to save its life. That was that. All right. Okay, so we played the deck, we learned some stuff, we also lost some matches. So the interesting things about this deck are that the engine is a little bit conflicting. Not like super so, like it's not actually, it wasn't that big of a deal. I expected that the conflict between like having to tap 5 mana in your upkeep to like hold up counterspell or whatever was going to be that much more annoying than it actually was. So that part is a little bit inspiring or exciting. What was not inspiring nor exciting was just how we actually felt the lack of manlands, especially in the Goblins matchup, actually specifically in the Goblins matchup and the Gro-a-Tog matchup, which were all of the matches that we lost today. We got paired against Goblins 3 total times, lost every single match, only managing to steal 1 single game. I do think that we did not get to see what this deck is trying to do because we just played against a bunch of decks that I was not expecting to face that many copies of. But I think the idea is interesting. I'm probably going to continue to try this out to see what's up and just expect not to get paired against all Goblins literally half of the matches that I play. But things that I liked, obviously, like the removal suite is nice. Maybe I should have access to... So the reason that I'm not playing the card Humility is that I did not want to have access to... I did not want to enable my opponent's naturalizes. And also it's like a little bit of a numbo with Eternal Dragon. So I think that if I were to play this deck again, I would just play the 4th copy of Wrath of God instead of Humility. I think it's worth thinking about it at least though. So, but yeah, the single Last Breath feels like needs to be there in a way, because since we don't have manlands that can deal with a meddling mage, like we just have to deal with it in other ways. And Last Breath does exactly that, and it's literally the second, probably the actual best card in the format at dealing with meddling mage, because Swords of Bloodshed is the first thing that your opponent will be naming anyway. So that I think it's interesting. The mana was not great, so like my theory of like only playing 2 counter spells, I feel like it's very, very accurate. Like I don't think that with this current situation that we have going here, we can actually play any more than 1 or 2 copies of the card the counter spell. I feel like this is mostly like a late game style card, like this is how I intentioned it to be. But these Prohibited Mana Leaks, they are not super great. Particularly Prohibit sucked. Prohibit was really bad. I do wonder if we maybe want to play something like Miscalculation or something along those lines. I mean, it feels really bad, but I don't know, maybe. Flash of Insight was like an interesting thought experiment. So the idea was, I don't think I want to be playing a very long game, and I don't think that I want to be milling myself for 20 cards by casting a bunch of Factor Fictions. Like I felt like decking was like a very real thing, but maybe I'm just overreacting a little bit, and just, you know, Flash of Insight is just that much better. Factor Fiction is just that much better than Flash of Insight in this deck, that I'm just supposed to play the 4 copies of this. But yeah, Flash of Insight in that last game was just kind of embarrassing, right? Where like we just could not flash the deck, period, because we just happened to draw a bunch of our white cards instead of drawing any of our blue cards at all. If I had been able to like Flash of Insight for X equals 1, but like exciting one white card, 1 blue card, I would have done it. I just did not even have the option. So that's like a pretty bad thing in the face of the card. So maybe this is not the deck for it. It's just something that I wanted to try. But I do like this as a concept, like 4 copies of Decree alongside Eternal Dragon. Like this part of the deck was kind of nice. We have to keep that in mind, and I feel like there could be something here. The problem is, like, I don't think, like, this did not feel better than black white at all. Like when I played black white last video, Like I felt like I was playing like a very real deck that was, you know, winning some matches of Magic, and I was excited to like see what my what my top deck was going to be. With this deck, that just not feel like the case. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Skeletal Scrying is like that much better than Factor Fiction, at least when comparing decks. And like having access to Vindicate just kind of fills in a bunch of the gaps that this deck has. So like not needing to play a bunch of copies of Disenchant, which we did draw against Goblins multiple times in game ones, where we're just like, yeah, I'm just dead here, you know. I think that this is an interesting concept, but it was not like, we still ended up losing to Armageddon. It was like the whole point of what I was trying to do. Maybe I would have been able to beat that Armageddon deck in Gro-a-Tog if I had been playing like Duresses and Gerard's Verdict. I don't know. But still an interesting idea. I think that it's worth exploring. Like I feel like Landstill as a deck is just not where it's at, so I feel like it's worth exploring some other stuff. Like it's worth exploring some other shells. That being said, maybe this is not it. I don't know. Maybe it's back. It's time for the Tithe decks to come back. Although I never actually liked that very much. I thought it was really super clunky. It needs to be reimagined. But yeah, this card was hugely disappointing because it's just too narrow, I think. I was expecting it to potentially do something against Goblins, and it was just heinous against Goblins. So I will not play this card again. And yeah, the rest of the sideboard was just kind of fine. I just feel like you cannot, like, we just lost to Goblins way too consistently, and we were so helpless in every single one of those games that it does feel like we either need more Cops or we need more Hydroblast, Blood Elemental Blast style cards. I don't know. We need more cards that do stuff against Goblins. Like, Wrath of God by itself is just not enough. It simply is not. So in that situation, then we need to have access to some more real cards. The same is true, like we didn't even get paired against Sly, and I would imagine Sly would have been also a pretty rough matchup, so maybe some extra Hydroblasts need to find their place here. But I definitely do not want Blind Angel. Maybe we don't need Seal of Cleansing, maybe this is just a little bit redundant, maybe we don't need Arcane Lab, maybe this is a little bit redundant, so lots of things to explore, particularly in the sideboard. That's gonna be it for me today, though, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy it, have a good time. If you did, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way out, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye.